The climb to diamond and above can be a grueling one, requiring you to be on point in every single match you play. What's going on, guys? My name is Valued, and today we're going to take a close look at 5 major tips that will have you playing like a diamond player. If you're going to make it through gold, plat, or wherever you find yourself stuck, you need to start thinking and playing like the rank you're trying to achieve. So let's get right into it. There is no better place to start than with something that we never stop working on: polishing our game. From our mechanics to our decision making, we're constantly looking to make our gameplay cleaner and our calls more correct. If you're gonna become a top player, you need to understand this is a never-ending process, and something you should always stay self-critical of. As you gain more knowledge and get better at the game, you need to be sure you're looping back and constantly practicing and polishing every part of your game. For example, do you feel like you've mastered your advanced movement? I bet you if you think back on some of your recent games, there was a situation where you could have tap strafed or used an advanced movement mechanic to get out of it. So what does that mean? Well, you should get into the firing range and spend 10 minutes practicing your movement. Or maybe you feel like you've had a genius mind for the game and your calls are better than someone like Hal's. Well, if you rewatch your VOD, I'll bet you there are 10 different times that you could have made a better decision. The point here is there's nothing wrong with having improvements to make, because everyone, including pros, need to improve. The key is to not get wrapped up thinking you're the best or your teammates are the reason you lose every game. Instead, always be looking to be self-critical and revisit things that you've already mastered. Don't be afraid to do aim training or point out a mistake you're making. Even the best players in the game make mistakes, but being able to see them for what they are and level with yourself is what makes you great. Moving on to our next tip, this is an issue I see a lot of players struggling with on their climb to diamond. This climb is one that requires you to value your RP above anything else, and playing too aggressively is the easiest way to lose RP. While you need to be confident in your play and be ready and willing to take fights, you need to make sure you're taking the right fights. If you just push every team you see or hot drop looking for early fights, you have a really high chance of losing the game. Look, every time you take a fight, there's a really good chance that you're gonna get knocked out of the game. Whether it's from the team you're fighting or a third party, a lot of fights eventually end up getting players killed. Even if you're confident that you're gonna wipe the floor with a squad, that conflict could easily result in you dying, and being grounded enough to admit this is important. Instead of constantly fighting, look to find 2 to 3 fights that you are actually comfortable taking. Whether that's a clean third party or catching a squad unaware, looking for fights where you have a clear advantage like this will help you to have such a higher success rate. It may seem like a small thing, but passing on a fight with an enemy in a power position or not getting involved too soon in a third party can actually skyrocket your RP gains. And guys, if you're looking to skyrocket your RP gains, there is no one thing you can do that will have this happening faster than booking a session on ProGuides.com. Having a top level player sit down with you and go over your gameplay is seriously some of the most valuable info you will ever receive. And the coaches over at ProGuides.com are the best. If you're looking to up your game and are really struggling to hone in on what you need to improve, then check out the top link in the description and you definitely will not regret it. Okay guys, so back to the tips. Conserving your RP is important, but there's a lot more depth that should go into your decision making. While this should be heavily considered when making decisions, you aren't going to win a whole lot of games if you're constantly only looking to stay alive. There's going to be some situations that require you to make a brash play and aggressive moves. What's important is that you're doing them with the forethought of what's best for your game. Not just for your RP at the moment, but also what's going to set you up to make it into the top 10, top 5, or hopefully number 1. This forethought should consider the ring position and status of the zone, suspected enemy locations, and the status of your own squad. If you're well looted and prepared for an endgame situation, you have a lot open to you. Maybe you go get a good zone position and play slow, or maybe you push a squad that you can find alone to secure yourself some KP if you don't have any yet. If you do decide to take an aggressive route, make sure you know how far into the game you are, if the zone is a threat, and what your plan is after this fight. This type of forward thinking is what keeps you alive while still being able to be aggressive. Top players understand this, and even if they make the risky plays, they're already considering how they can get out of a tough situation. If you constantly have your mind on the future while making solid decisions in the present, your games will go so much smoother. Another tip to make your games go a whole lot smoother is using a little bit of teamwork. Look, I know you won't always get the best teammates, but even if they aren't in comms, any sort of communication with them will go far. You pinging actively, calming by yourself if they aren't responding, and overly doing your best to stay near them will make your games a ton easier. Winning fights outnumbered can be really tough, and even if your teammates hit literally no shots, they're still absorbing damage and attention away from you. And guys, let's be honest, you will have those teammates while solo queuing that are pretty good and communicate well. While this definitely doesn't happen in every game, make sure you do take advantage of those games and consider grouping up with players you come across. I personally have found some great people to play with by following this advice, and I highly recommend it. If you want to do yourself an even bigger favor, then try finding teammates before you queue up. Our Discord is a great resource for this, and one I definitely recommend you check out if you're looking for like-minded players to run games with. The link will be in the description if you want to check that out. Because if you're struggling with the solo queue experience, taking a bit of time to group up with members that you know will be on comms can be a great way to get the teamwork flowing a little bit more in your games. Not to mention, the higher rank you get, the more the enemy squads are gonna be full 3 stacks. So getting a couple of people to play with can really go a long way. And finally, for our 5th tip today, guys, I want to talk about one key factor to consider when deciding what legend you're gonna play. While you can make the push into Diamond with any pick, if you've been struggling to make the push, it is worth making sure that you're setting yourself up for success with your legend pick. 2 big things to consider are, what legend am I the most comfortable on, and which legend can get my whole team out of a bad situation. You do need to make sure you're comfortable on whatever legend you choose, and you're ready to 1v3 if the time calls for it. Having a legend that has a ton of personal agency and the ability to take care of themselves regardless of what your team does is a great choice for your climb. Secondly, having a couple of picks that can fit key needs of the team is not a bad idea either. I personally think the 2 most important things you need are mobility and information. If you have a legend that can provide the team mobility, and one that can scan beacons and preferably scan for enemies, you're in a pretty good shape. If you don't have one of these 2 things though, it may be worth picking a legend that fits this role. While you may not be having high-level comms with your teammates, these 2 legend archetypes can be really strong, even with little communication. This is even more so in Season 12, where we have Olympus into King's Canyon in Split 2 for our ranked maps. Both of these maps are third-party heaven, and having the extra mobility to get out of bad situations and info to see them coming is incredibly helpful. But keep in mind, guys, if you're feeling good on your pick, there's nothing wrong with one-tricking. But if you're struggling in any way with your current pick, consider switching it up. Alright guys, and for one final bonus tip, I want to make sure you guys understand the importance of normal games. You honestly should be running normals in general, looking to put yourself in tough situations and practicing your fighting and game awareness. A great way to do this is start your session off with a couple of normals. It gets the blood flowing and lets you get some low risk matches in before you go risking your RP. Remember guys, RP is a hot commodity on your way to the top, so don't go hopping into your ranked lobbies without being fully prepared. Alrighty guys, and that's gonna do it for my 5 tips to help you rank up to Diamond and beyond. There are a ton of things I could have talked about in this video, but I know if you put into practice even one of the tips I talked about today, your climb to Diamond is gonna go a whole lot smoother. As always guys, it's been your boy Valued. Make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.